Mic check, mic check. Looks like it's coming through. Desktop audio is on, but it shouldn't be an issue. I don't have any music or plan to play any. What up, Brian? How you doing, my guy? Currently, your Niners are $285,000 over the cap, effective cap space negative $3 million, but y'all got so many easy options. Of course, the Ravens, little more difficult, being that we had to tag Matabike. Check out this Niners draft or free agent class. Gregory, Darnold, Kinlaw, Gibson. He might be able to replace Gibson with a way better safety, but not for that price. Looking at your snap counts. Let's see. But yep, give me just a second. I'm going to get myself situated here. And then we're going to get at it. I actually have your Niners up right now. Looking at all your potential moves. How did Young play 59.9% of the snaps? Honestly, the biggest void for y'all is going to be Tashawn Gibson, and that's a pretty easy hole to fill, in my opinion. Not bad, not bad. Let's see this with the cap space, I believe. Yep, we're going to get started here on the Baltimore Ravens, though, in just a moment. Brian Culp says, we are drafting Rice 98. I'm expecting y'all to go get McCaffrey's brother, too. Honestly, he looked really good at the combine, so it might be an option for y'all, really. I've seen in a lot of mock drafts, too. He's rated, like, pretty low, like 5th, 6th round kind of wide receiver. And I'm like, oh, I feel like you can get some better value out of that. So I'm very interested to see where McCaffrey's younger brother ends up. Got the bragging rights on the 40-yard dash, too. But welcome in, guys. Like I said, we're going to get started here in just a minute. I'm doing my last little pre-stream rituals is what we'll call it. But we're getting our mind right, head right here as we're getting ready to dive into the Baltimore Ravens cap situation. Pardon me. Let's try to get one more of this really nice live sugar. There we go. But how is everyone doing today? I know you got Gore Jr., you got which he looked good at the draft or the combine too. You got McCaffrey's brother, so you could really load up on some stars right there potentially. But what up, Daniel Berry? Welcome in, my guy. Taking my last little dab here right now. I got a new piece with a quartz banger. Milky. Might even do this one live on stream because we're having fun here today. All right, let's get officially started here. All right, guys. With that, welcome in. It is officially time for the start of the 2024 Offseason Plan series. Of course, we will be starting the series with the Baltimore Ravens, as we always do, of course, here on Darwin's Raven. Again, welcome into all our viewers hanging out with us today. If you're not familiar with the Offseason Plan, the Offseason Plan is a series I started last year where we go around and we play the GM of various NFL teams. Ravens always number one because that's our team, but we also like to play GM of several other teams. It's just fun and all. During the offseason plan, we play GM. We mess around with some contracts. We do extensions, tags, trades, restructures, and a lot of different stuff to, in our opinion, like I said, as the GM of the team, put us in the best position to make that deep playoff and hopefully Super Bowl run. Of course, the news broke earlier today for the Ravens flock that, sorry, tripping over my own words here. Justin Madubuike will be hit with the franchise tag. You can see Over the Cap already has him listed here on a 1-year, $22.102 million deal. It's about, honestly, what we were expected on the average. If you go to PFF here, looking at the PFF big board rankings for free agency, they predicted Madubuike to get a 4-year, $23 million average deal. Now, let me tell you, Ravenflock, the tag might be a blessing in disguise. We're still hoping to get the extension done with Beak, before the season, just because they will free up a lot more cap space in this year. If it doesn't happen, I ain't worried about it. I'm going to show you just how we're going to game plan for it all. So, of course, we're going to game plan with continuing with Beak on the tag for this year, but we'll also run the scenario later where we extend him. By the way, something to keep an eye on, not only for the Ravens flock, but across the NFL in general. Of course, you can see on the PFF rankings, the number one ranked free agent is going to be Chris Jones, looking to reset basically the interior defensive line market. Keep big eyes, though. So, big news came out of Miami earlier this week. Christian Wilkins, their number one D tackle. They will not use the franchise tag on him, so set to hit free agency this year. As well as keep an eye out, potential cap casualty from the Green Bay Packers, Kenny Clark. Playing pretty good football up there, but he might just end up being a cap casualty before the 13th and the start of free agency. And if so, we've got potentially 3 really big name defensive tackles on the market. So in that essence, they might really help us set the market. So there's a high chance that if they don't get the deals that they're looking for, which I think they will because there's a lot of cap space available in the NFL this year. Hey, what up, Giants fan? And welcome in, Chimera. But we're expecting these defensive tackles to get those pretty big contracts. But at least it will lay the blueprint for Beak's extension. Just like how when Jalen Hurts signed his extension, it laid the blueprint contract for Lamar Jackson's extension, which we talked about that extensively when we did Lamar Jackson's extension last year. But of course, the Ravens love to pick up cap casualties. For those that might not remember this, basically, when you sign a player in free agency, if they are a normal free agent through their contract just expiring, void years or whatever, they then, of course, count against the comp formula. However, players cut due to cap casualties when signed don't count against your comp formula. So we're going to be keeping an eye on I'm not going to run through this whole list, but we've got a list of different guys we're keeping an eye on from across the NFL cap casualty wise. We actually already have through Sports Track. Sports Track, another really good source to use for a lot of this stuff. I've got sorted here from January 1st to March 6th, so currently till tomorrow technically. Players cut from NFL rosters. So you can see right here, we've already got Miami Dolphins, Chicago, New England, Jacksonville, and Pittsburgh, and the New York Jets leading the way in some cap moves, freeing up some space. Going to be an absolutely interesting free agency. Of course, running back's got to be the one everyone's eyes are on. But and then of course down here we've got the individual players that have been cut, the savings that was made by cutting them. Of course, the early we saw earlier, like probably an hour ago, Quandre Diggs and Jamal Adams, both starting safeties for the Seattle Seahawks, part of this early cap moves to free up some space. Mike McDonald basically saying, I can make it work. And I really hope Mike's not staring down Geno saying, hey, man, come over here. Let's start this dynasty over here. But he very well might be. I'm going to give you one name I'm keeping a heavy eye on. Where is he? The cornerback. There he is. Right here. Darius Williams, cornerback, Jacksonville, is one of the guys we're going to be keeping a heavy eye on. 85.3 grade in coverage last year. He was elite cover-wise, but did have some tackling and run defense issues. But OTC, or over the cap, valued his play at $13 million last year. So being also that he's a cap casualty and possibly won't count against the comp formula, that's a very attractive guy to try to get into the building potentially, no matter what team you are. But let's go back to the Ravens a little bit. So, of course, before the tag, the Ravens had approximately $12 million in cap space. Drop down, and you're gonna hear me say another term a lot. The term effective cap space. So effective cap space is the predicted money value of the team post draft class and post Rule 51. The Rule 51, basically the two lowest contracts for a team don't count towards the cap. The Rule 51. So the effective cap is accounting for the draft class as well as that. The predicted effect asset is what I'm going to call it. This is basically what it's going to take to potentially sign our draft class based on the current amount of picks and the, actual pick itself. Because, of course, like in the first round, pick 30 costs a lot less than pick number 1. So the predicted value for the Ravens draft class, $3,759,000. So we're going to say just roughly about $4 million is what we need for, our draft class. Mind you, the cap space that you see on the top right of your screen here, that -9 in the red, does not include the effective class. So keep that in mind. We have to clear about $3.7 million above that. Chimera asked in chat, any shot the Ravens go after another wide receiver in the draft or free agency? Absolutely. I am having such a hard time not taking wide receiver with one of my first 2 picks in the Ravens draft. This draft class predicted to have a lot of true number 1 X guys, like those 6'3 plus guys that can body. In some of those guys, you usually have acceleration issues. And I tell that from experience. I originally started as a wide receiver when I started playing being 6'2", 7'8", so just a hair under 6'3", and originally my playing weight was around like 209 to 215. But the problem for taller players is they have a hard time sinking their hips into their routes. And when you sink your hips, that's how you gain explosion out of your cuts. It's just usually harder for taller players. So it's really hard to find guys that are above 6'2", closer to 6'3", that can burst out of their cuts. This draft might have a few of those guys. The free agent class for the wide receiver position, T. Higgins already hit with the franchise tag. Michael Pittman hit with the franchise tag. They haven't shown it here yet. Mike Evans signed like a 2-year, $50 million extension. He said he wanted to get paid. He got paid. Some people have talked about the Marquise Brown reunion with the Ravens, but Zay Flowers is a better, younger version of Marquise Brown. We're glad to see no files charged against Zay. Calvin Ridley, I would think about, but I don't know. I've heard weird things about him. And then after that, you've got guys like Gabe Davis, which if he signs anywhere around $12 million in average, the Ravens are out of that. Like Same thing with Odell. So I definitely see the Ravens, basically this is going to be Rashad Bateman's put up or shut up year, essentially. He had a really healthy year last year. We were really glad to see him get through a full season. I would have rather seen some more snaps from Nelson Aguilar gone to Bateman. Basically, the number 1 and number 2 wide receivers for the Baltimore Ravens were Zay Flowers and Nelson Aguilar. However, Bateman, being a first-round pick from Minnesota, didn't get as many snaps, even though he was healthy. And Bateman actually has a great separation grade. Dude's got moves. So we're really looking forward to Zay and Bateman taking a big step next year. Tylan Wallace going to be in the mix, as well as probably taking over the special teams return duties with Devin Duvernay headed to free agency as well. One of my sneak guys in free agency, if you're looking for a slot wide receiver, I'm telling you, go get my boy Duve. But after that, the wide receiver market, I'm not a fan of too much after that. You know what I'm saying? Noah Brown, I think he's going to re-sign with Houston. I don't think he's going anywhere. Houston has a decent amount of cap space. Again, after that, I'm really not excited. So I'm not even thinking really much about the free agency market for wide receivers unless some guys get cut. The only guys that are on the cap casualty list for wide receiver is Hunter Renfrow from the Las Vegas Raiders on my list. A lot of defensive backs on that list, some tackles as well, which is something we're banking on. Which let's get to that. So again, Ravens are negative $9.5 million, more like negative $12 million. We've got to make some moves happen. So, in my original plan, that I started formulating the moment our season ended, I had no plans to move Ronnie Stanley. I was going to keep everything the same, and I think the Ravens really might take that direction. Case in point, we could restructure Lamar's contract right now. Basically convert 13.1 of his base salary into a signing bonus, also his non-prorated. That should, if I remember correctly, kick up the cap hit $3 million every year for the rest of the contract. Yep. Which, of course, would clear us out of the cap immediately. Now, though, again, deadline, the Ravens have to be under the cap by 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time of March 13th. So again, we could just restructure Lamar's contract. Done. Easy. But of course, we still need money. That technically doesn't even get us our draft class even. Which of course, everyone could start restructuring contracts after that point. Let's start with the easiest move on the book, though. We're going to address Tyus Bowser. Tyus, nothing against you, my guy. I loved you. I've always loved you. I really hope your leg's okay. For those that don't know, Tyus Bowser, of course, had an injury, was supposed to come back this year, was basically the starter on one side. And if I'm not mistaken, his knee did not respond. I wonder, maybe if our old Al Saunders is haunting us. And if you're not a Raven fan, Al Saunders was our strength and conditioning coach, resulted in the Ravens being rated like one of the worst in that position the first year the NFLPA did the report cards. The Ravens, of course, got rid of Al Saunders, and supposedly that's been met very well in the locker room. And I hope Tyus isn't a result of that. But Tyus, do 7.5, not played in 2 years, with a cap savings of 5.5. It's probably an easy choice. So right off the bat, we're back down to negative $4 million. I'm going to then, as the Baltimore Ravens GM, I'm going to approach Ronnie. That's the next elephant in the room for me. Ronnie Stanley due $26.18 million, I believe, this year and next year left on that deal. Going into his 9th season, 30 years old. I would like to honestly renegotiate this deal. the money I'm looking for is I want to pay Ronnie somewhere between, let me find it here. I don't want to mistake. I want to say it was 11 to 16. I'm trying to find my exact notes on it. But we're going to go with the nuclear option that Ronnie's like, nah, I want to go to the open market. I'm not going to take the pay cut. I'm not going to renegotiate. You can cut me. I'm just going to go the nuclear worst case scenario on that. If I can sign him for, like I said, even like the 16, which would be a $10 million cap saving, I'm cool with it. But like I said, we're going to go with the nuclear option. Now, here's another little trick tidbit of the cap, if I'm not mistaken. So, I think it was around 2016 this got introduced into the CBA for the NFLPA and NFL. Every team each year is allowed 2 designations per team. This is a post-June designation, so it allows a team to cut a player from their roster pre-June, so on the March. Basically, it allows free agents to get in on the first wave of free agency and not miss out just due to the weird way. So with a post-June release, the money is split over multiple seasons, dead money-wise, while if they are released in March, the beginning of the season, all the dead money's due up front right away. So a lot of times you can do a post-June cut to save money for a team. So like I said, I believe around 2016, the NFL introduced the 2 designation rule for post-June, basically meaning that I can instead of doing a cut pre-1 for the cap reasons, I can do a cut post-June and make him my first of one of 2 designations. Tyus contract doesn't allow that. But so basically by doing this, the cap savings goes from 8.3 million to 15 million. So again, nuclear option, I have to get rid of the left tackle of the Baltimore Ravens. He's dealt with some injuries. He's played pretty well. We're going to go here real quick. Premium stats. I know a lot of people don't like PFF, and I totally understand their argument. And then we're going to go to the Baltimore Ravens, and here we are. So, technically, Patrick McCary finished overall better than Ronnie just due to run blocking, but Ronnie was pretty elite in his pass blocking. Like I said, I would love to renegotiate that deal somehow, bring it around the 11 to 16 million cap hit range, which would effectively still keep me on pace for most of my plans here. But we'll go into that here. So again, we're designating Ronnie Stanley as a post 6-1 cut, but of course allowing him to hit the first wave of free agency, making him our first designation. That right there puts the Baltimore Ravens $10 million in the clear. So effectively $6 million in cap space. And, after the draft class. So, of course, we're not done. That's only the start. Ideally, now I'm going to talk about one thing real quick. What I'm going to do here is it might be considered a little crazy. And it's purely on a whim. But there are several different players that could fill this role. So I am this move, I'm going to do my first move first. So there's a free agent I'm eyeballing. If I'm going to get an injury-prone left tackle that's more pass strip block driven than run block driven, I feel like actually on the market, I've got a lot of good options, to be honest with you, that I could get at that less than $11 to $16 million price potentially. So let's head over to the free agents real quick here. Clear my San Francisco. We're going to go to left tackle. So the Commanders got an interesting guy here, Charles Leno Jr. I expect him to sign some type of long-term deal. Dwan Brown is one guy that, no, I'm sorry, not Dwan Brown, Trent Brown, possible cut, I believe, from them. We've got Jonah Williams of the Chiefs. Where is he at? Oh, he's probably technically considered a right tackle. Yeah. So if you don't know the story about Jonah Williams was a really good left tackle for the Bengals. They went and got Orlando Brown Jr. and made him shift to right tackle. He agreed to do it for 1 year and then go to free agency. So I have a really big feeling that he wants to go back to left tackle. I know there's going to be quite a few guys that are in this conversation, basically, and also might be some cut candidates as well. There's guys. So looking at potential cut candidates, you've got David Bakhtiari of the Green Bay Packers. You've got Teron Armstead of the Dolphins. Like I said, I believe, Trent Brown of the Patriots is going to be there. But the guy I'm eyeballing, Tyrone Smith. I know that's going to be controversial, but I'm just going to say that because, so there's a little bit of talk. Tyrone has been playing on like a 1 year, $6 million, 1 year, $7 million for the Cowboys for a while. There's a little bit of talk. Is he doing it for the Lombardi chance, or is he doing it for the, because he wants to be a lifetime Cowboy? I think for around $7 million approximately, I can go find one of these guys, a veteran left tackle that'll come fill in, basically kind of filling Patrick McCarry's role while cutting Stanley. Because my idea is this, there are so many really good tackles in this draft, there's no way I can pass on one within the first 2 rounds. It's as simple as that. After that, but here's the thing, I don't want to be absolutely pigeonholed into starting a rookie left tackle, if that makes sense. So if I got 6 good games out of Tyrone Smith for $6 million, I'm happy with that contract. And of course, best case scenario for that $6 million, $7 million, whatever, you could even possibly push this number to $10 million. Because again, I'm still getting it potentially for less than Ronnie on a renegotiate, unless he's willing to really come down to like that $7 million range, but I doubt he is. If I get the best out of Tyrone Smith and I get that 90 PF pass rush or pass protection grade out of him, and we run on that Lombardi run, I've got a rookie left tackle that I'm developing that I could then start maybe subbing at right tackle a little more for Morgan Moses. You feel me? Basically use the future left tackle prospect and use him as the rotational piece that Patrick McCarry is now. And of course, worst case, he starts at left tackle with, an injured Tyron Smith. But that's what I'm going to go with for right now. So we're going to sign him on a 1 year. I don't even know how no matter what, the cap hits the same. Let's just add a void year because we can. 1 year, $5 million guaranteed with a $2.5 million salary. So $7.5 million deal, basically, where we can shift a little bit of the cap hit actually over 2 years with the void year. With that, we're going to go ahead and cut Patrick. So with signing left tackle for around $7.5 million, and moving on from Patrick McCarry, we're now up to $11 million. Now, a lot of people might be talking about the interior offensive line. I truly believe between Ben Cleveland, Andrew Voorhees, and Laulu that our guard situation is set. There's no questions about Linderbaum. And I'm willing to let Morgan Moses play 1 more year, basically with Daniel Falele and potentially either Tyron Smith or a rookie tackle playing over there as well. Basically, I want to address left tackle this year, and then next year we're going for right tackle. Would be my big plan there. But with that, we've got a veteran left tackle to man the left side, whether it's Tyron Smith or a long list of other guys. Again, I'm looking to get somewhere in that $6 to $10 million range. And again, if I could get Stanley somewhere in there, maybe we can make it work. I could even do maybe, like I said, up to 16 million for Stanley. With that, again, the Ravens are good technically, but we're going to keep working because we've got some guys that we need to sign. We're going to bring back Ronald Darby. Hopefully, we can get him. He played on a base like 1.1, 1.2 veteran minimum deal, if I'm not mistaken. We're going to go ahead and give him, let's see. I did that wrong. 1.2. And we'll do 550. Oh, oops, that's why. 550,000. So giving Ronald Darby a 1-year, $1.75 million deal, I think he would be really key part to bring him back, actually. Of course, we're going to let Rock Ya-Sin walk. Kevin Zeitler, that he didn't sign an extension before the deadline, so basically, if he had signed an extension before a certain deadline, the dead money in his void years would have got spread out. So the fact that they didn't reach one probably means he might be headed to free agency. Patrick Queen, I love him, can't keep him. It's just way too expensive. Kyle Van Noy, we might bring back on a veteran minimum, but we're going to move on from some other stuff. Again, moving on from Rock, I'm not even going to address Dalvin. Jadeveon might be in the book, but we're going to address that later. Of course, John Sensen, we're going to continue to let him walk. Arthur Mollett, I would love to bring back on a $1 million deal, but we'll let that play out. We might have some really good corners. Devin Duvernay, of course, going to walk. The next guy I'm going to address here is Geno. I want to keep Geno. I don't think it's going to break the bank either. Mike McDonald might be the biggest competitor, honestly, for Geno Smith, just between them. And of course, we saw the news earlier. What up, Carcast? Mada Beaks. But of course, we saw the Seattle Seahawks let go of Jamal Adams and Quandre Diggs. So Geno might be headed there, and we might get into a bidding battle. I've seen two different numbers thrown around with Geno. The first being a 3-year, $25 million deal with $12 million guaranteed, averaging $8.5 million. Honestly, I'm willing to meet that deal. I've also seen a 2-year deal with worth $13 million, 7.25 guaranteed, averaging like $6.5 million. That would be the preferable deal, and I think we can get that done, honestly. It'll allow Geno to hit free agency again pretty soon. And of course, if he continues the good playing, then. So again, that's going to be a 2-year, $13 million deal with 7.5 guaranteed. So we're going to probably do like a $5 million signing bonus, which is more money than I think he's made his entire contract. Then we have to average, of course, about what, 4 million. So actually, let's bump that up to a 7 million, and then we'll do $3 million base salaries, and of course, we'll guarantee the entire first year, which will bring our total up to. We'll almost do a fully guaranteed deal, I feel like, with Geno for that little bit of amount. I'm fine with it. Geno's shown that he can play, and he'll be there for us. And that gets us that $6.5 million. And of course, we could fluctuate that. We could bump that down this year. Maybe move that to a 1 million salary, and then bump that to a 5. Yep. So that gets us a better number on all that, basically. And we can afford it more next year. It gives us a little more relief this year. So we're signing Geno 2-year, $13 million with at least 7.25 guaranteed, averaging $6.5 million a year. Puts us down to 6.4 million. So still have enough for our draft class and everything. We got Geno back. You know, I'm really thinking about bringing Brent Urban, but I've got to address someone else first. And that's going to be, I'm going to bring back Malik Harrison, our edge inside linebacker combo. This one took me a little harder to find the work and find some deals. I believe we can get him for somewhere around a 3-year, $5 million deal, potentially, is what I'm hoping for. So we're going to give him like $2 million guaranteed off the bat. Let me see here. Hold on, I'm sorry. I think I wrote my wrong number down. 3-year, $5 million. Three, 4, 5, 6, basically. We'll do 3 years, $6 million with a roster bonus. So we'll actually kick it up if he's on the roster for each of these 2 years, 500,000. Totally fine with that number. Yeah. So we're going to give Malik Harrison a 3-year extension. What's that worth? About 6 million, could be worth up to 7 million. Giving him about a $2 million cap hit every year, which is not that bad. Solid player, has actually really been part of our key run stuffing package, and keeping him around for about $2 million a year would be absolutely perfect for us. Locks up really, again, part of our Super Bowl depth run. So one guy, it's going to be probably one of the most controversial, is going to be J.K. Dobbins, and he's going to, I mean, we talked about it a little bit, but let's really go at this real quick. On the free agent side of this, the running backs, Derrick Henry, Josh Jacobs, Saquon Barkley, Tony Pollard, Austin Eckler, and of course Alexander Mattison not getting didn't really become that guy last year. And you saw that Mattison and Pollard when he got his role increased really didn't have that same burst. JK absolutely in this conversation up here, but a lot of people have been screaming, Ravens need to sign Derek, Ravens need to sign Saquon. I'm telling you, Raven Flock, that's not where our money needs to go. I love Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry's a monster. He is defying the running back odds. I love Derrick Henry. I would love to have Derrick Henry on my roster. I am not willing to put $10 million on Derrick Henry right now. I know you might say it's a Super Bowl run move, but so we have Justice Hill. Justice Hill is a great, he has great burst, great speed. He hasn't lost that step yet. He's great in pass catching. I love everything about him. And he has special teams ability. We saw the absolute ability out of Keaton Mitchell. Of course, he's coming back from an injury, but I got faith that he's going to come back stronger next year. Coming from a smaller college like Eastern Carolina and then coming into an NFL weight room and going through that rehab process, I got a lot of faith that he's going to be a different kind of player next year. With that, though, we have Gus Edwards headed to free agency ourselves. It really pains my heart. I feel like I saw a slight half-step difference in speed from Gus last year. Gus, I have been pounding the Gus the bus for like 3 or 4 years. I literally was like, we don't need Mark Ingram. I love Mark Ingram. We didn't need Mark Ingram. Gus was ready that year. I would love to bring Gus back, but the question is how much money is Gus going to get? So JK is 26. Gus is 29. A lot of these guys, Jacobs 26. Saquon's 27, Pollard's 27, Eckler's 29, like our boy. So it's there's a lot of different directions. So I've seen some early predictions. Yeah, oh, Brian, you know what's I think it's going to be terrifying, absolutely terrifying. I got to show this. The Bengals currently have $44 million in cap space. Now they're going to be working a lot of extensions. But I've heard the rumors that the Bengals might be moving on from Joe Mixon finally this year, putting potentially the Bengals not only in a position to cut Mixon and save even more cap space, so that cap number might go higher. But of course, then the Bengals will enter this free agent market, which, can you imagine Derrick Henry paired up with Joe Burrow? I'm not going to lie. And Orlando Brown Jr. leading the way on the left side. That's a little scary. Same thing with Saquon. I really don't want to see Saquon there. You could even say Devin Singletary could be lethal in that offense. I believe Joe Mixon is 29 himself, so he's kind of starting to get up there like some of our guys. But there are going to be a lot of good free agent running backs. This is going to be probably the best running back free agent class I've seen in a long time. Probably my entire life, to be honest with you. But yeah, keep an eye on the Bengals for a sneak guy. They would definitely pay someone short term like $10 million to come in there and help them win a Super Bowl again. Derrick Henry and Christian McCaffrey? No way. No way. Then again, I said no way. Oh, that felt great. To y'all get what's his name, and then y'all got him. So. But all right, the Ravens have now, after signing of Malik Harrison, Ronald Darby, Geno Stone, and again, we're going to say in Tyron Smith, we're going to say a veteran left tackle around the $7 million range. $7.5 million range, okay? Which, of course, we're still technically using a void year to get around some of that because we've got, as you can see, 2025, 2026, we've got money. But 2026, we've got some big free agents we're going to have to take care of, and we might start taking care of, try in 2025. There's only one guy, really, if you look at our 2025 free agents, Morgan Moses, we're going to let him walk next year. Brandon Stevens, honestly, might be on my early extension list, but that's about it. Patrick Ricard might be as well. And of course, Owe going to have his extension coming up, his fifth-year option. Or I'm sorry, he's finished his fifth-year option. So we've got a couple guys in 2025, but it's 2026. Andrews, Linderbaum, Kyle Hamilton. If we don't cut Ronnie Stanley, Isaiah Likely, Charlie Kolar, Keaton Mitchell, Ojabo, like the 2026 free agent, we really got to get some money ready to retain those guys. So even though it says 110 million, ignore that number. But looking at the rest of this class, I would like to get JK back. Now, let me say this. I've seen a lot of different numbers about JK. And like I said, I'm thinking about bringing Brent Urban back because he's coming back on a veteran minimum deal too. But there is some potential really good players in this draft, especially late. But let's discuss JK. So JK probably needs a 1-year prove-it deal. He's probably going to have a hard time finding that from anyone else. So hopefully there's no reason why he wouldn't want to stay with Ravens and possibly go on a Super Bowl run and then go get paid next year and probably a much less heavy free agent market with a bunch of freshly set deals. It makes a ton of sense for JK. So with that being said, where is it? I believe we can do a 1 year or $2 million or 1 year or 2 year deal. I would love to do a 2-year deal, but I'm actually going to change what I did earlier. There's been a lot of talk that it's a 1 year, $2 million deal, basically. I'm sorry, JK. That's what I'm going with. Actually, we'll do one and then we'll guarantee. So it's a fully guaranteed 1 year, $2 million deal. That allowed him to hit free agency next year, where again he might have a potential to get seriously paid. And of course, it gives the Ravens 3 really good running backs, starting level running backs, with the potential again to bring someone else now in through the draft, just like this year where the Ravens kept 4. We could this next year as well. So basically, our running back room going into the draft would be Justice Hill, J.K. Dobbins, and Keaton Mitchell, with, of course, then maybe adding a running back in the draft. So we're going to bring J.K. back on a 1-year, hold on, we're going to bump that up to a 1-year, $2.2 million fully guaranteed deal. Now, at that point, technically, we don't have enough for our draft class anymore. We also technically, I'm going to go ahead and throw this in there. I forgot to do this earlier. We need a long snapper. So I'm just going to go ahead and re-sign Tyler Ott for 1.7. I believe he did 1.2 last year. So just going to go ahead and get that out of the way. Now, after that, there's, we're going to need a backup quarterback. We're going to still, I expect Delshon Phillips to probably come back later in the process. Our Darius Washington, Jeremiah Moon, a lot of those guys, Daryl Worley, guys that have come and gone a lot. Like I said, I want to bring Arthur Mollett back, but between what we have, I think we're fine. And especially I think this defensive back class might be better than I thought it was, to be honest with you. But with that, I feel like the Ravens are in a pretty decent situation. But there is still one glaring need on this roster that I can't get past. We need another edge rusher, Baltimore. So if you look also at the free agent class of edge rushers, let's clear this. We'll go to edge. A lot of these guys got tagged. Josh Allen got tagged. Brian Burns got tagged. So the top tier pass rushers, Danielle Hunter, Minnesota, looks like he can do it all. He's probably going to get paid. Bryce Huff, they're expecting about a 16.67 average year deal. So pretty big money for Bryce Huff. Apparently really struggles in run defense. So kind of like Chase Young a little bit right now. So these guys, high pass upside. I actually expect them to probably have to take closer to $10 million deals. But with that being said, here's another guy. I'm sorry. Jonathan Grenard's going to get paid as well. And I expect him to probably stay in Houston. They've got the money to make it happen. So I expect him to go back to Houston. Jadeveon played on a $2 million contract for the Baltimore Ravens. He played, like PFF said right here, OTC valued his contract play at $9 million, which is where he wanted to sign last year. He wanted like $6 to $10 million last year. No team was willing to give it to him. He came to the Ravens, played outstanding. So Jadeveon might be in that mix for us, but if someone offers him $6 to $10 million, he's probably going there. And again, I'm staring at Mike McDonald over there in Seattle, who, probably has got the cap to go make that happen. Seattle, of course, sitting at $28 million. I know my boy Joe Stevens probably saying something. Yeah, we probably will bring back Josh Johnson or Malik Cunningham, but I'm looking at the draft a little bit right now. There might be some sleep quarterbacks in there potentially. I don't know. Lamar had a good, healthy season. He proved all the haters wrong. He got through the season healthy. So back at quarterback, not really as much of a concern with me. Again, teams we're going to be keeping a heavy eye on, as you can see. I'm going to say anyone 20 million and over. So Broncos, Saints, Dolphins, Chargers, Bills, all way over the cap still. And we're expecting a lot of cap casualties from those teams. And we're rubbing the hands together, hoping for it, right? But I'm going to go crazy here again now, Baltimore. I want to go get a guy. Whether he's a cap casualty or, I don't know. We've talked about a lot on our channel. We've talked a lot on other channels. Joe Ortiz spent 25 years with Baltimore, now officially the GM of the Chargers. Now, there's 3 big names that are, or I should say 4, but I feel like closer to 3. We just showed the LA Chargers are way over the cap. They have 4 players on their roster basically making $30 million in next year. So like every single one of them taking almost a fourth of the cap. That's Keenan Allen, wide receiver. Mike Williams, wide receiver. Joey Bosa, edge. Khalil Mack, edge. So all of these guys are really high on the cap casualty list. There's been a little bit of talk about teams potentially being interested in Mack and willing to offer some trade compensation. Mack due like $13-17 million, something like that, but coming off a 17 sack season with the Chargers with not a lot of feel like a help around him. I'm going to hypothetically here, guys, just to show how much money I'm willing to dedicate to go. Because, so this is what I'm saying. If I miss out on Bosa or Mack here, I can easily go get Jadeveon Clowney and I can give him the $10 million. But I'm going to tell you right now, if I had to pay Clowney 10 or Mack like whatever around 17, and I can probably lower it through a 1-year extension with a void year, so more like a 3-year deal with void. But we're doing it, so let's work it here. I'm going to send a 2025 4th or 5th round pick to the Los Angeles Chargers because the Ravens, of course, have Odafe Oweh, who's due for free agency basically next year. Has, of course, improved and was one of PFF's most improved players for the Baltimore Ravens. However, he's still not quite getting the sacks. We relied heavily on Kyle Van Noy and Jadeveon Clowney last year to be our edge rushers for a team that was leading sacks in the NFL. Of course, I would have loved to have got Brian Burns. Danielle Hunter, I'm thinking about. But the Yannick Ngakoue rough transition from Minnesota to us and the lack of carryover of production scares me a little bit of people coming from that Minnesota system to ours. Even though supposedly he's shown that he can do Brian Flores' 3-4 attacking defense up there as well. I would love to go get a star-studded young edge rusher. Like I said, I kind of almost wish this was Bosa in a sense and go stand Bosa up on the edge. I am not getting... I swear if we bring Russell Wilson, I'm going to be upset unless he signs for like nothing. But I definitely don't want Russell Wilson. Brian Colt joking with me in chat. He said, go get Russell Wilson, then leave. Then the Ravens can ride. Let's go, Ravens. Let's ride. We fly, motherfucker. No, I'm just kidding. Just joking about. But so Khalil Mack's cap hit, by the way, actually $23.25 million. That's a lot of money. But at least it's not like the deal that Von Miller got where he disappeared. At least this is a 1-year deal. And of course, God forbid, we go win the Super Bowl, Khalil Mack balls out, and we don't really want to sign him next year. If he signs another good deal, it's a comp pick next year, which we're going to go into that a little bit. So predicted values on some of these guys, Patrick Queen expected to sign a huge contract. The Ravens could get a 3rd round comp pick or 4th round next year. If OBJ signs for around $10 million, the Ravens could get a 5th from that. Kevin Zeitler could get net the Ravens a 5th to a 6th. And Jadeveon Clowney, actually, if he signs for around that $10 million, might get a 4 to 6 for the Ravens. So we're looking at some of these comp picks already. But I'm going to do something crazy here, guys. I'm going to go get Khalil Mack. $23.25 million cap hit. Whew. Negative $19 million for the Ravens. This is where we're going to start doing more, though. So we're going to go ahead now and restructure Lamar's contract. We're going to move that $13 million base salary to a signing deal, as well as a non-prorated bonus. Move it all to signing deal, which then will add $3 million cap hit onto the rest of his deal, including the void years. That almost brings us back into the red. We're now at negative $9 million. Very likely candidates for restructures as well are going to be Marlon Humphrey, as well as Mark Andrews. And with that, the Ravens are now $3.5 million. I'm going to approach Roquan, same deal. If I need to make any more moves, we're now at $7.1 million over the cap, while also getting Khalil in here on a $23 million cap hit, which I'm probably going to address that here shortly as well. You know, I'm going to tell you guys too, there's someone I'm keeping an eye on, Marcus Williams. A very surprising potential cut candidate. And of course, by the way, with the Patrick McCary cut, I would actually love to trade Patrick McCary. What up, David Corona? I would love to trade Patrick McCary if I could, but if I can't, not the end of the world. But I definitely think you could get a low round pick, maybe even send him to LA instead of that future pick potentially. But I know they need the cap. But we're going to actually go back here and go back to this Khalil Mack because we're going to add him for the Super Bowl run potentially as well. Let me think how I want to do this, or do I just want to add the void year? Let me take a look at, sorry, I must have messed something up here on my notes. Let me take a look here. Edge. Actually, that's not what I want. I want contract tables. And we're going to go to Edge. Let's take a look at Von Miller's deal, actually. See, and I really just want it for a 1 year. I don't know how much he wants to get paid next year is the only problem with this. We'll just leave it as is, I guess, and just bring him on full price at $23.25 million. At that point, that gives the Ravens a dominant edge rusher. It gives us a full running back room. We've re-signed a majority of our key guys. And again, if the Khalil Mack's not there, you can easily sign Clowney for 10. And then there's guys, some of the guys we're going to be keeping an eye on. Andrew Van Ginkel out of Miami, actually a really good situational pass rusher. There's Marcus Davenport, the former Saint who went to Minnesota, we're keeping an eye on. There's a lot of different ways we could go about this. Of course, you could use that Khalil Mack money for a running back, but I just feel like based upon the running back room we have, the draft that's available, that is just not going to be needed. And I'd rather dump that money into another elite level pass rusher. Someone that with Matabike pushing on the interior, it becomes literally unstoppable. And even if Mac doesn't hit 17 sacks, if he can hit double digit, it's basically worth it. And of course, we can make a lot of money open right here by extending him, adding a void year. There's quite a few options, but I wouldn't mind keeping him around potentially. And see, maybe the better option is to go that route instead. Let's go that route instead. So we'll bring back Clowney. We'll pay him $5 million for the $4 million bonus. So we take Clowney on the $9 million deal, basically. Of course, like I said, I would love to do the Khalil Mack, but we can do it all. That gives the Ravens plenty of cap space. Then we can go sign Van Ginkel. We can sign, maybe someone like Bryce Huff. We could sign a lot of different players, to be honest with you. But maybe if we could lower that cap hit to about $18 million for Khalil Mack, Oh, exactly what I would want. Of course, like I said, we're going to keep Morgan Moses. And here's like a crazy move. Like I said, we could give everything. If we sign Geno Stone, we have Kyle Hamilton. Sneak cut. Marcus Williams. Like I said, sneak cut, but could free up a lot of money. Like I said, for like something maybe like that Khalil Mack move. Just based upon availability and things like that. Says Odell Beckham's on the roster, but that's just his dead money for this year. I mentioned extending Brandon Stevens. Wouldn't free up much. Would only be about a $2 million free up this year. But again, we might need every little dollar there. Of course, we already signed Nelson Aguilar. But like I said, this gives the Ravens plenty of cap space to do a ton of moves. I'm not a fan of spending $10 million of this money on a running back. I feel like we could go edge. We could go another interior lineman instead of doing someone like Brent Urban. Bring someone in that's a little more. And of course, there's like we could in that case move on from someone like Ronald Darby and bring in someone like Demarius Williams from Jacksonville. Some of the other guys, cap cuts, we're keeping an eye on. You've got returner Deontay Hardy from the Buffalo Bills, as well as their center Mitch Morris. Bradley Bozeman, the former Raven, might get cut from Carolina. The safety Eddie Jackson from Chicago is on that list, as well as Cody Whitehair, who I think is a really interesting guy. Plays a little bit guard center, a little bit of everything. Mike Hilton from Cincinnati, as well as Jermaine Pratt are high on my list. Guys like Jermaine Pratt could come at a less price than Patrick Queen and provide really good depth. So Trenton Simpson really doesn't have to start right away, and you might be able to flex him outside and run stuffing packages like Malik Harrison. There's potential guys that Browns could cut Nick Chubb, and Nick Chubb could join this insanely deep running back group. Justin Simmons from Denver is a high cap potential, as well as DJ Jones, their defensive tackle. Like I said, there's going to be a lot of guys, defensive tackles and running backs. Cam Robinson from Jacksonville. If you're looking for a good but not great tackle, again, like I was talking about, someone maybe in that $7 million range, he's in that conversation. Of course, Mike Williams gets released. I'm not going to lie. If the Ravens really didn't want to go with the wide receiver early or take the early swing on the big wide receiver for less, 10 million or less, I'm kind of cool. Basically, instead of using that money on a running back, I wouldn't mind a big Mike Williams as long as we get the good, healthy Mike Williams. You know what I'm saying? Basically, I'm looking for a jump ball specialist, someone Lamar can throw a back shoulder fade to that he is unbeatable on one-on-one. I've wanted DK Metcalf for years, but I want a guy that's almost unbeatable on that back shoulder fade if it's thrown right. That basically absolutely necessitates a safety to move to the far side of the field where the fade's going to go, basically. It just opens so many holes in the red zone, and I think it's what the Ravens offense really needs to take that next step. I think Bateman and Zay are going to do wonders, but I feel like we're one more wide receiver away. So Mike Williams, I definitely would consider in that conversation. Of course, there's talks about Xavier Howard being a cap cut from Miami. Again, using a little bit of the Ronald Darby money. If maybe Xavier wanted to take less money for play for contender. Emmanuel Ogbah might be a cap casualty from Miami as well. Basically, unable to get ahead of Jalen Phillips and Bradley Chubb. So another guy that maybe for a bargain you might be able to get. And then, of course, Demario Davis, the cornerback from New Orleans, might be one of those guys as well we're kind of looking at. But looking at the lower tier guys, after, like, let's say we get Jadeveon Clowney for $10 million. I know Josh Uche has been very popular along with some guys to the Ravens. There's Van Ginkel, 2-year, $6.5 million average. Absolutely, like I said, in our market. Calais Campbell still working wonders. I was really sad to see him go, but it's a business, you know. Mike Dana played really good for them down the stretch. But, you know, not really a ton of great guys. And it's why someone like Jadeveon Clowney might actually get that, you know, 6 to 10 range again. But I don't know. I think the biggest thing I'm looking for right now is going to be an edge rusher. Um, you could say honestly that again, if I can't go get Khalil, that I might not even have to make this move for Ronnie. But yeah, I'm going to do the Khalil Mack. Even though I know we'll work out a deal. I'm just putting it in there on the books straight. 23 million. Let's just say this. I'm willing to allot up basically almost $23 million in the cap for some edge rushers, whether it's one elite or two really good ones. But no matter what, we made a lot of money. Oh, by the way, Broderick Washington is in a make or break year. You could cut him this year, but it just really wouldn't save anything. It's just all dead money. So no point in cutting Broderick. However, if Broderick doesn't perform this year, next year the Ravens can move on from Broderick. So that'll save us. If I'm not mistaken, he's going to be making somewhere upward of $4 million. Yeah, he's going to be making 4.6 next year, but the Ravens could move on from him with, I believe, very limited cost because he's due at least $2 million guaranteed this year. But with that, though, let's talk one more thing before we get out of here, guys. And that's going to be the mock draft. So I can't get over the mock draft, like the players that are going to be available. So you can see we're going to just quickly do 7 rounds. We're, of course, turbo speed. We've got care for positional value, dead middle. Draft for needs, dead middle. Randomness, we take all the randomness out of these drafts. I cannot stand when I see like the crazy ass pick that I doubt is going to happen. You know, so we're going to take all the randomness out of the draft and let's see what the Ravens are left. Now, barring this plan, I've pushed down edge rusher a little bit on my needs, thankfully. I definitely am looking for my franchise tackle, but I might be able to wait a little bit on it till a second round at this point instead of using the early first round pick. We're still looking for that big number 1 wide receiver at this point as well. So the priority for me, left tackle, wide receiver, cornerback, edge, basically is what I'm going to say. And let's get into the mock. Run down the board. Let's see if there's any like surprises. So Caleb Williams goes 1, Drake May 2, Marvin Harrison 3, Malik Neighbors. Basically what a lot of the mock drafts kind of have, you know, going down the board. Jezar Newton, honestly, I think this guy's going to fall. I think he's going to be an early day 2 pick. I don't think he's going to stay up there, but we'll find out, right? He might be basically the surprise pick, in my opinion. Tackles start flying off the board after Joe Alt, Fuaga, Fotanu. Dallas Turner, the one edge rusher I would love to have, goes to Seattle. That's heartbreaking. Yep, there is just so many tackles in this draft. Tyler Guyton might go before Graham Barton, honestly. I got a weird feeling about that one. But Ravens are on the clock, pick 30. Ladd McConkey just came off the board to Detroit. That's a great pick. Now, this is where it gets interesting. So, of course, we just saw the Patriots took Marvin Harrison Jr., wide receiver, Ohio State, with the 3rd overall pick. They need a quarterback. It is insanely popular for teams to pull up back into the first round, just like the Ravens did for Lamar, to get that 5th-year option. It's super, super important if you believe your guy. You've got guys like J.J. McCarthy, Bo Nix, and I want to say probably, Michael Penix Jr. These are guys that are probably borderline. You might think it is your guy. JJ threw good and Penix threw good. Actually, I'm sorry, I didn't see Penix, but JJ threw pretty damn good at the combine. Does a team like Seattle come all the way up to come get him in the first? I really think it's going to be New England. You know, Tom Brady was a Wolverine. There's talks about JJ's arm, right? I really could go a bunch of different ways here. As the Baltimore Ravens, I really like the potential of Adonai Mitchell, 6'4", 196. Won at Georgia, went down to Texas, did his thing. He's one of these big number X guys that I like. Let's look at the wide receivers real quick. Adonai Mitchell, love him. Troy Franklin looked good at the combine. And again, a 6'3", 187 guy, bigger guy. You've got Keon Coleman, who's been mocked to the Ravens a lot, another 6'4", 215 guy. Another guy that was part of my way too early mock draft, Xavier Legette, I think looked kind of good. Another 6'3", 227 guy. Like, there's a lot of big wide receivers here. But let's go ahead and look at tackle real quick. Popular for me is going to be Jordan Morgan. Played his entire career at left tackle for them. Played pretty well too. He's been popular in my mock draft lately. But if you start looking also here at the 2nd round, Patrick Paul, again, been really popular to a lot of teams. 6'7", 315, another really good left tackle. Played pretty well against Texas Tech. Trying to find some of these matchups. He had pretty good matchups this year, honestly. Jordan Morgan over there didn't play so well against Washington's edge rushers. Had a really good game against UCLA. So he's had some up and down games, but I really think that there's I believe Javon Foster, another left tackle we're looking at. There's a couple good guys that we could wait on. And I'm just terrified though that they're going to get gone. But we just saw a ton of teams take tackle. So maybe some of these guys might get pushed down now a little bit. It really depends on, I feel like here, and let me look at one more position. We got corner. Of course, Kool-Aid McKinstry found a Jones fracture in his foot. That's heartbreaking for him. He's probably going to drop into the 2nd round. TJ Tampa's on the board. He's a really good corner. I really like him. I don't know if I'm ready to take him there, though. You know what I'm saying? So really no good 1st-round corners on the board left. Best player available is, according to the board for us mostly, is Adonai Mitchell. I don't know, man. This is tough. For me, if I could choose, I'm trading back. And of course, my obvious trade partner is going to be the New England Patriots. I've done this so many times in so many of my mock drafts, and I'm sorry I'm doing it again. So 34 and 30. If I remember, it should cost somewhere around a 4th-round pick. 104 is high. We could say 136. Of course, I want to squeeze them for everything that, we could. But actually, I want to look for one thing real quick. So in order for the Ravens to move from 52nd, they they sent their 52nd, 125th, and a 2019 second round selection to Philadelphia in exchange for the 32nd and 132nd. So of course they're not having to move up nearly as far. I believe. Let me see. Should I do 104 or 136? We'll do pick 136. We'll give the Patriots the easy way out here. But I'm just looking to add an extra pick because I really think this draft has got some good quality players. With that, we trade the pick to the New England Patriots, where they take J.J. McCarthy. Worked perfectly. I think it's an interesting pick that the San Francisco 49ers take Adonai Mitchell right there, the wide receiver out of Texas. Is that a sign of Ayuk, potentially moving on? If I have any 49ers here in the chat, man, how would y'all feel about that pick? Taking Adonai Mitchell, the wide receiver out of Texas, lit it up the combine, big, huge guy. Definitely, I agree with the Panthers pick here. Zach Frazier, center out of West Virginia, and Troy Franklin probably going to be picked right there for the Kansas City Chiefs, basically replacing Marquez whatever. But if they're moving on from Badley, Brosman, basically taking one of the best true centers in the draft, easy money. Baltimore Ravens are on the clock, pick 34. Brian Colt says, I'm good with it. Man, that would be just, can you imagine Adonai Mitchell, Brandon Ayuk, and Debo? Like, how insane that would be. And see, then there's the potential that y'all could then move on from someone if you wanted to. Like, you could trade Ayuk for another first round pick potentially. I could definitely see the Niners doing that. And I think a team would pay a first round pick for Ayuk basically. I love when teams are able to get 2 first round picks. I think the Carolina Panthers absolutely choked on the Brian Burns situation. But like we've seen the Eagles do for a long time, just willing to always trade one of those first round picks basically for future picks, and they continually flip and get even more value out of it. But we'll hang with that pick. With that, Baltimore Ravens are back on the board. Chris Broswell has been on my board pretty highly. 13 sacks last year. Really good pass rusher. We like the Bama kids here. We've got a history of taking Bama kids. We took Courtney Upshaw. C.J. Mosley. We could take another edge rusher here. If we are able to go get guys like Khalil, I don't see the Ravens taking the first round edge rusher for one reason. Owe and Ojabo, potentially. And I don't know if Broswell's that pick. Cornerback, I love Sainer still. He boosted his draft stock a lot. He's probably, not going to be there later for us. Jordan Morgan still on the board. I've still got an elite level. And Chop Robinson's been popular to us. Because again, Owe, but again, the sack production is what's not there, and it's just a little concerning because we saw it transition with Owe a little bit. Darius Robinson, a little too heavy to be playing on the outside for us. Probably going to move inside, more like a 5 technique, basically. BRB. There's no edge rushers I'm in love with right here. And I've invested in that position recently. I could go corner, but I don't think there's that guy, that number 1 guy right here either. There's still a really good tackle on the board that I'm heavily weighing towards. But let me think here. There's also some wide receivers I'm staring at. I wonder if Leggett will be there. What is that, in the third round? It's too early for us in the third. I would have to trade up for it. But I still want a number one wide receiver. Keon Coleman could be that guy. There's been a little bit of talk recently, though, that he struggles to get separation, which has me a little worried about it. Honestly, I'm still in love with this Xavier Leggett pick. I really want him. Just take him. I know you got to be confident in your guy, right? I'm going to go ahead and take my tackle. I think it's just too good to pass on him. And we're going to take Jordan Morgan, the tackle out of Arizona, with our first second round pick. Now the Ravens are back on the board, though, here at pick 62. I've got my tackle situated. My edge rushers are kind of gone. Jalen McMillan's been on my radar a little bit more lately, but I don't think he's going to be my guy. And I don't know. I am not sold on Braylon Trice yet. He looks like he's the part, though. He gave Jordan Morgan some trouble. Had good games against Stanford and Utah. Good games against Texas. But I don't know. I don't know if he's going to be my guy. I think Braylon could fall to the third potentially. You've got Tavondre Sweat on the board, who you really like. Honestly, this is probably where I take Xavier off the board. PFF's not going to like it. He's picked around pick 70. It's on pick 62. You could probably say he could wait till the third round, but he's my second round guy. So I take a big 6'4" wide receiver and my future left tackle of my franchise. I want to go back to my tackle pick, actually. Sorry, that's round 3. The Jordan Morgan pick, 6'6", 320 senior. And again, appears to be better in a zone blocking scheme, which we don't run zone, but has some solid games, including against guys like UCLA. But I don't know, man. It's one of those ones where there's some really good tackles that I could have got later, potentially. Steve-O said, and we getting Bosa. You might. You never know, right? All right, but Ravens are back on the clock here with pick 93 in the draft now. And see, this is where, again, I'm like, man, I could have gone and got a guy like Dominique Puny. But when I look at it, I don't know how he stacked up against his edge rushers. Might be one of those ones where, again, I might wait. Or you might just take one of these guys early. But with that, I'm starting to stare a little bit at edge and corner. So I'm going to go ahead and throw them up on my board. And this has been a guy very popular. Max Melton made himself some money at the combine. I'm a little concerned about the competition. Of course, had his best game against Maryland. But he looked good at the combine, 6 foot 190 guy, but I don't know, man. Abrams, I like. He started as a slot corner, played well. He's played a little bit of everything across the board. 5'11", 178. He might be a little too small. We'll take the Max Melton pick. And I'm sure when I come back, my edge rusher that I want's going to be gone. I'm almost 90% sure on this. Yeah, all the good edge rushers. And that's the constant problem I'm finding. By round 4, almost every good edge rusher is gone. And we are moving to the weeds. Kind of like the Solomon Byrd pick, though. But in the essence of Baltimore, now we can kind of go more of best player available. And with that, I'm taking this guy, Christian Boyd, small school guy, Northern Iowa Panthers. But I got a feeling about this young man. 6'4", 317, more of an interior defensive lineman. I like him. And of course, if we don't bring Brent Urban back, and we're thinking about maybe the Broderick deal, and of course, Beaks on that. Malik Washington, also a really popular pick for me. More of like possibly a slot guy, but I love him. He also brings kick returner potential. He's really popular in my drafts. I thought Logan Lee looks really good at the combine too. I think he's going to be a good nose tackle for someone. Could play that 3-4 edge for us a little, not edge, but defensive end for us. A lot of good players here. We're taking Christian Boyd. And of course, we're right back on the clock. And now I'm going to go back and oh, is my boy Malik gone? Oh, Kansas City took Malik. Oh, that's a heart crusher. That's a heart crusher. We don't need interior. Definitely an interior guy. Smith looked good at the combine. I really like the potential of Michael Barrett as another potential replacement to Patrick Queen if he leaves, but at the same time, we're not going to really need it. We'll probably take one of these guys. Not a fan of Jeff Coat, though, what I saw at the combine. I can't believe Theo Johnson's on the board here. I really thought Theo would be off the board already. We're going to take Michael Barrett, the linebacker out of Michigan, replace Delshawn, give extra depth behind what we already have. I just think he's a good player. After that, you know what? I'm going to look at my running backs because I think there's one guy I'm looking for. Okay, I'll be able to go get my guy late. So I can hold off on running back. Let's look. Are there any interior offensive linemen or tackles that I look like? I think it was Sundell. Yeah, I think that's going to be my guy. We're going to go get Sundell, basically move, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, he played a little bit of center too, and then moved to left tackle where he played better. I'm going to move him to right tackle. So we're going to take Sundell with pick 136, a future right tackle for the Ravens. Now, let's see. I want to make sure my running back's still on the board. He is. I could probably get him. It's going to be close. Let's take a look at the big board. James Williams. Might be the guy. Not a fan of the Michigan interior offensive lineman, to be honest with you. Luke McCaffrey's still on the board. Could go that direction, honestly. I don't know if he did much of returns duties. I doubt it at 6'2". I'm looking for a guy that also has good return potential. Kamal Haddon's a popular pick. I know he's had some up and down games. Could take him right here. Don't think I've added any defensive back depth. Anthony Gold's a good pick, too, for a returner. He's going to have great return man value. We're going to go with the Kamal Haddon pick at 164 from Tennessee. Develop him into a corner, hopefully. And hopefully with my last pick, my running back's there. Praying my running back's there. He's predicted to go a few picks ahead of where I pick. Fingers crossed. And there he is, Jaden Sheridan, the running back out of Monmouth. And that does it for my... Steve-O says, what site using? It's a PF. This is PFF. PFF's not going to like my draft, probably, to be honest with you. I took players way too high in their grades, but yeah, overall, B- on my draft. We took Jordan Morgan, the tackle from Arizona, with our first pick, which was in the second round. We then reached a little bit for Xavier Legette at the bottom of round 2. We had, so I really didn't need to add Kamal Hamden there. But because we added Max Melton in 3rd round, Christian Boyd in the 4th, Michael Barrett in the 4th, Our future right tackle, Jalen Sundell, in the 5th. An extra defensive back in the 5th. And then our last pick of running back. Definitely could have gone for an edge player. However, I feel like a lot of the good edge players are going to be gone before round 3 finishes. So round 4 couldn't really find that edge rusher I was looking for, sadly. So definitely maybe could have moved this board a little bit. Let's well, hold on. We're going to download that, and we're going to do another mock draft real quick. Of course, this one a little faster. So let's again start the draft, run it down. Yada, yada, yada. I'm going to make that trade again to the New England Patriots for 136. Wish I could get 104. I know it would let me, but I'm not going to do it. So with that, again, I can find good defensive back depth. There was some good tackles later. At that point, I'm honestly looking for an edge rusher potentially more than anything. Yeah. So at that point, then we're gonna go to our edge. There's guys like Darius Chop, Marshawn. That's why I'm like, man, Marshawn looked really good at the combine, like really good. Might be more of a developmental guy. I could see him falling a little further than that, but like, let's take the linebackers off. The guys I'm really interested in are Javon Solomon and Mohamed Kamara, honestly, are the guys I'm really staring at. Darius Robinson, it just seems like he might be too big for our edge. Chris Broswell, though, you know what? I think it's just going to be the pick. We take the early edge rusher. So now with our second pick in this draft, it's got to be either tackle or wide receiver. Blake Fisher, another really good pick, played more right tackle, but and of course there's Patrick Paul available at this pick. Let's see, 6'5". Played guard, then moved to tackle, played better. See, I think I like the Patrick Paul pick because he's a career left tackle. Just like I like the Javon Foster pick, honestly. More of a zone blocker there. About equal. Another zone blocker. A lot of these guys are zones. See, that's why I kind of like him, but I haven't done film study on him yet, to be honest. Average pick, 104. All right. I'm going to be crazy going back after my wide receiver. I'm going to go get my guy again. Pray my tackle's on the board here. And there he is. So now I got edge, tackle, wide receiver to start the draft. Let me see. Who you asked? Who took Rice? Let's see. In this draft, and trust me, I've seen this draft do some really bad picks before. He goes to the Bengals. I don't see that happening. I'll be honest with you. Just for the reason that I have my eye on a guy they drafted last year who I think is going to be a stud. And they're going to be able to let one of their wide receivers walk in this free agency. All right, but with that, we've taken an edge, we've taken a wide receiver, we've got our tackle. We're back on to this 131 pick where last time we took Christian Boyd. Let's go the different direction here. Let's go for Malik Washington. We're going to add on to this wide receiver room and give another potential target to Lamar. Of course, at that point, then Christian Boyd goes to Kansas City. That's probably a good pick. I think it's funny how they've kind of flip-flopped there. We took Michael Barrett last time. I still really like that pick. Tyler Davis and Mekhi Wingo are also really good guys that I would think about taking, especially Wingo. Wingo looked really good at the combine. Again, all my pass rushers I think are gone. Yep, Solomon went early 4th. You can never have enough good edge rushers, is my thought process. Let's see here. So we've got all available. Guerrero made a lot of money at the combine too. Grayson Murphy might be that edge guy. Solid numbers. 6'3", 260. Played mostly outside the tackle. Did not play well, I guess, against Jordan. Could be that guy. Could be that guy. Patrick Paul coming off 83. Yeah, I'm still sticking with that Michael Barrett pick. I like it too much. After that, I mean, this is where it gets tough. Does Logan Lee have any potential to develop as a pass rusher? Maybe. We need a 5 technique guy probably more than anything. But we could also use depth behind. That is so tough. No, so when we have Pierce up the middle, Beat goes to the side. Definitely need more of a 5 technique guy than anything. We need to over tackle. I don't know if there's one of those guys. Tyler Davis might be. Played more in the gap. 6'2", 300. You know what? I think I'm going to go with that Tyler Davis pick over the Logan Lee pick. It's tough. 6'5", 291. Nah, I'm going with my Logan Lee pick. The Iowa State. He looked really good at the combine. That 6'5" definitely gives me more incentive to go that direction, to be honest with you. Again, I think I'm going to go back to that right tackle I liked. Could go Luke McCaffrey here. Solomon Byrd might be an interesting choice here as well. I think I'm going to go with Byrd, honestly. .6'6", 267. I'm looking for a developmental pass rusher. So it's one of those ones, like, who do I want more? Really think it's the USC kid more than anything. Let's see, tackles he played against. Yeah, I'm going to go with Solomon Byrd as a developmental guy from USC. Add on to that. No matter what, I know where I'm going on that last pick. It's just one of my favorite guys. Let's see, are there any other guys I really caught my eye? I think that's Keaton Oladipo is another guy I've had an eye on. I wouldn't mind trading back up into the 7th for him, to be honest with you. I think I might do it. Developmental slot corner, DeAndre Prince. Yep, I'm going to take Monmouth guy. And I'm going to trade with the Jets here. I'm going to send them like a future 7th for this pick. My team owner will veto it. No, he won't. I want to get back in the draft because there's a guy. I want to go get Keaton Oladipo as a safety. A hybrid player. Let's see how it grades this draft. So B, it loves my Broswell pick, still hates my Legit pick, hates my puny pick. Wow. And then it hates most of my late picks. I don't know. I would be ecstatic, like kind of if the Ravens came away with that draft. It would give us 4 good edge rushers. At that point, I really wouldn't need to spend money on someone like Khalil Mack, which then of course I could go get Derrick Henry at that point really easily. But I don't know. It's going to be a tough draft. I could definitely see Broswell be taken first round somewhere, especially towards the end. I think Puny's going to go higher than the 3rd round. I could see Puny going at the end of the 2nd round. I think Malik could be a 3rd round pick, but 4th probably is a good round for him. Logan Lee's one of my sneak late round guys with Jaden Sheridan as well. And I couldn't believe Keaton Oladipo was sitting there. That'll be an interesting one. But all right, guys, that was our official take on the Baltimore Ravens offseason plan. Doing cap work as well as, of course, and see, we might not have to make that move if we went with that draft route. I could do that and free up a ton of money. A ton of money. Which then, of course, Derrick Henry and all that's very easy to sign. But the problem is that this first wave of free agency starts March 13th. Meaning, basically, we need to make some moves happen pretty quickly. So I expect possibly the Ronnie Stanley move. The Tyus should be a no-brainer. And Patrick McCary, I only make that move once I actually sign another tackle. So again, not too worried about that. But yeah, let me know, guys, in the comments what y'all think. What would you have done differently? What did you like? What did you hate about it? Let me know, guys. But with that, we're probably going to conclude for today. I'm going to finalize another off-season plan tomorrow. Planning on doing Buffalo, Green Bay, Seattle, Carolina, and then probably adding one more team to that mix. So don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button before you leave. And